Friday night. Let's go.
What up, brother?
We're back, fuckers.
Crank it up, fuckers.
We are back. I gotta apologize. We have not been on this like we should have been this week. It's just illnesses, busy, but man, we are back.
We're back.
Lots of exciting news, happenings in the world of college basketball, sports, and just general shit. So, how have you been, man?
I've been great, man. Living the dream. Work's been going well. God blesses me abundantly. Amen. Good stuff. Amen. Good place to be.
It is a great place to be.
Great place to be. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, me too. I'm alive, so that's good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You sound like shit today.
No, I'm totally fine. Just, allergies down here. I felt like there were bad allergies when I lived in Indiana, and now that I live in Alabama, it's kind of like a whole nother little bump.
You're probably allergic to Michigan State truth.
I might be. I don't think so. We'll see.
You've been sneezing a lot.
We'll see. We'll see. We shall see.
Hey, we'll see. You're a huge IU fan. I get it.
No, the biggest. I mean, it's unbelievable.
How do you feel about your 5 stars leaving?
My 5 stars?
Who's your fan?
Daddy? No, that's I don't really want to open with Indiana stuff because.
Do you? Let's do it. Fuck Indiana. I mean, fuck it. Let's go Indiana.
I mean, there's that's absolute. That's good wisdom there. But that's pretty wild that shortly after Coach Woodson said he's confirmed that he will be retained this season for IU. That one of the highest ranked recruits they've had in eons and one of the best players of next year's class. Liam McNeely, I believe. The
McNeely kids.
Then McNeely's.
You ever seen this is topical. This is actually topical because Peter. Do you remember Peter McNeely fighting Mike Tyson? And Mike Tyson's obviously about to get in this ring, and I think as long as it's not rigged, take this kid to the brick oven, make his face look like pizza.
I've seen him just practice videos. He's still very quick, and you can his power is insane.
I will say,
I literally thought I literally saw the thing you guys said about the Tyson fight, and I saw those videos, and then I pointed to Jen. I'm like, I mean, he is maybe a tinge slower, but I swear, if you get hit, this is before I even saw the video. So if you get hit with one of those right crosses or an uppercut, it's done.
So did you read that group chat? You were busy doing something. So we have a group chat.
Yeah.
But if you really watch that video, this motherfucker is in his drawers.
Yeah, I saw him. He was not I think he just was asked to go up there on the spot.
So my theory is, if you look at his first of all, you look at a motherfucker in his just boxer briefs. Okay, red flag. I think he walked in the gym is okay, I'll get a couple rounds of work in, and because he had the freshest shoes I've ever seen in my life. They were bright white.
Yeah. So
regular t-shirt and his draw. I think he literally took his pants off and just started throwing, didn't stretch. That's just my theory. That's what I like to think happened.
I mean his GAF meter is very low, it seems.
But I mean, I know he's been working for a couple years. I mean, he got fat and out of shape like all of us at in his mid-40s. Sure. And I saw an interview on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was I just don't want my ego. I don't want to get my ego going because I know once I start, my ego gets going and I'll just get in the ring and kill people. This is him at 47, 48, 49. And he just knew if I get in the ring, if I start training, it's over. I can turn it off and on like nothing. Yeah. And that's not someone you want to get in the ring with. Anyway, so this McNeely kid, it reminded me immediately because of all the Tyson talk of Peter McNeely, which is one of the greatest one of the greatest press conferences I've ever witnessed. It was so cringe. Look it up. I'm not going to play it, but look it up. I'll post it on our Twitter. That's what I do.
There you go.
But people were asking him questions, and his retort was, "Take a big dump in your pants." So I feel like IU took a big dump in their pants with this McNeely kid.
Oh yeah, it's bad. I mean, it's so there's. I would have to assume that I think because he out, I think they have 0 recruits for this upcoming class. I'm almost certain. I don't think they have a recruit.
I don't know. They don't have anyone in the 2024 class.
I'm saying I think a few have already decommitted, and he was kind of like, yeah, I don't really love where this is going. Now, I mean, there's maybe some situation where Khalil Ware and, someone else said, hey, they're going to come back, and I don't know, maybe he was, but my thing is there's no way if you're him and you're that good, you could be worried about I'm a top 15 player, top 20 player in the country, freshman on paper. You can't be afraid of competition if you're that, right? If you're a 5-star, All-American high school caliber player. And, so I think he might just be, worried about his future, there. What, could be an NIL stuff. It could be, they actually have a treasure trove of NIL money, now. So that's not holding him back. But it's just funny that, culture means a lot, there could, I don't really know the backstory. But it's not, it's a pretty big loss when you're trying to rebuild and, whatever, because, you get a few people like that, you look at Duke's upcoming class, they always have good classes, but they have instant difference makers, Actually, I think Rutgers does as well too, but I think Rutgers
really do.
What?
They really do.
Yeah, they do.
Two lottery picks.
Yeah.
2 protected lottery picks in the 2025 draft. So
but you just, it's one of those things with them, it's will they have enough around them? I guess they'll have some decent players, but okay, so even on paper, let's just say for that example, I know it says up there, but it's if you're Purdue, who we have coming in, and who have we coming back, Purdue's going to be favored to win the Big Ten again next year. And, we don't have 2 top 5 players coming in. We have some very good players. They're probably underrated and extremely good in some cases, but it's a pretty big black eye for them that they've already had a few decommitments, and there's, I think the way that Woodson coaches is just not appealing to college dudes. To be honest with you, from things I've heard. I know he's very tight with people that are on their board of trustees. He's in the good old boys club with those folks. So I think that's really what bought him a year. I know that IU fans, at least if not already in the open, in the dark, are really wanted him to be canned so they could get Dusty May. They feel like he is. First of all, if you're ranking Dusties, there's Dusty Bazongas is probably number 1. Dusty Springfield, and then maybe you could get into Dusty Mays, but there's no question Dusty Bazongas is number 1. But if you're looking, any of those Aqua Teen Hunger Force fans out there, you will appreciate that. And if you're not, you should just go ahead and Google search Dusty Bazongas and then watch that episode, and then hit us with several likes. Smash that like button, like your Dusty Bazongas. But anyways, so they really felt like he was going to be their, we need to dump this dude so we can get in on him, because he, coached under Bob Knight, he was in part of that, crew. And so, everybody's like Ohio State or Louisville or somebody else, and so if he jumps, now you're in a situation like if he gets decides to go up the ladder and the season is very likely to end much different than last year's Final Four run. As good as they are, they're probably going to get in the tournament, but they did a lot of that. Even though they're ranked during the year, they did a lot of that under the radar. And so now it's like if you look, they're just even though they returned some players and have built a decent culture. I think it's a little bit different when people are ready for you, and that's you see that in the last handful of years of Purdue.
Yeah,
like when you become the hunted and not the hunter, it's a totally different role. And it's the stuff that the Dukes and the Kentuckys and the Kansases and those kind of teams have been, Michigan State's even like they've been fighting for years. Like where it's like, every time you play someone, you're getting, we get a chance to, step up to this weight class. And so it's a little bit different. When the brackets come out, assuming they're in the tournament, they're going to, just because of last year's, run, a lot of people are going to like crap on Purdue. And a lot of people are going to probably advance FAU, and it's going to be like, it's just not how it works. It could work out that way, but it's, unlikely. So anyways, I think a really big fish, in the same waters of Indiana is going to come calling. And they have the fear of missing out for sure.
Yeah.
And so, and it's at the end of the day, it's like, and there's a difference between if you're a good coach and you're doing it at that level, when you go up to the next level, you're dealing with all kinds of different problems. He doesn't probably have hardly any booster problems at FAU, but you get him in Indiana. You get fan base problems, and like at FAU, they think you're the best thing since sliced bread. You come to Indiana and you miss a couple of state tournaments, and all of a sudden you're dog shit.
Yeah.
So there's a big, even if you're capable of doing it, you still like it's a different set of problems that you run into. So and he very well may be very, very good there, and no matter where he goes. But it's just not everybody can make that jump. And some can, maybe you could, but it's a big enough job. You're going to get somebody interested that's pretty big time, or maybe a lower level person, like lower division coach that obviously can that's on the up and up, on the up and rising. But it's just one of those things where it's they've just had really, honestly, numerous bad hires in a row since the Bob Knight curse, if you will. And it just goes to show you probably shouldn't kick and slap and punch players. It's just bad business. He's a good X's and O's, but he had a backhand that was like he should have been on the tennis courts. It's a hell of a backhand, I'm sure.
The shit doesn't work today.
No, too many camera eyes. They don't like.
No, you need Johnny's and Joe's, not X's and O's.
That's right. But so I don't know. I just that's a big loss for them because he's a difference maker type player. And
he's
you
6'8", 2 guard. Legit.
He's
knockdown shooter. Just
and they've had pretty good amount of NBA players in the last 20 years since they've not really been 20, 25, 30. They've had plenty of ones that have made it in the NBA, hung around a little bit, even been really successful.
Mm-hmm.
But does that equate to winning in college? And so, if you don't have right character, right culture, none of that stuff really matters. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the right people believe in Woodson, and I think he's probably a good coach with the right people. But going back just to culturally speaking, like this is obviously football is a reference I was going to use, but I heard today on the local radio down here, Alabama, there was a lot of reports of like part of the reason why like Nick Saban like retired was because rather than coming back after losing in overtime to Michigan, they were like, hey, what can we do better to get next year? A lot of them were like, well, do you think I'm going to get a bump in my NIL? Do you think, what does it mean for me? Am I going to be guaranteed a spot? playing over this person, this 5-star, freshman coming in. And then they were making reference to like after the 2008, I think they lost to Florida in the SEC championship. And in that time period, obviously that's been a while now, 15, 16 years. But, they came back from that and they were saying, like, hey, what can we do better? We're not going to let that crap happen again. And obviously it's a different culture now, but it's things like that. I can assure you that's why Saban's out. Some of this, and I also some of that entitlement. I'm sure that's why, Wright was done with Villanova. I mean, that's why some of these guys, retiring a little early or whatever. And I think it's just only going to wear on those people, like it might even be wearing on an Izzo or, at this point, some other very, very good coaches in this day and age. So it's sort of like one of those.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, but it's just it really, if it wasn't NIL and player mobility, and you at some point it was going to happen. If it wasn't that, it was going to be something else that kind of the old guard got tired of at some point.
Sure.
Whether it be, it could have very well been the other end of the spectrum. I'm really tired of the administration of the NCAA. Like they get just as tired as that. So it's just they're aging out, and it's very much a young man's game. As far as coaching, relatively speaking. Your coaches that played, in the last 2 decades, within the last 2 decades, they understand that these players today are getting everything that they wanted or got under the table. And it honestly, they see it as a huge weight off their shoulders, whereas I think some of the old guard, they don't look at it that way. They just, they want the even playing ground, and it's just, they don't want to deal with the other stuff. They don't have the energy or but it's just an interesting dynamic. I'm actually here for it. One other thing that, I know this is just kind of peripheral stuff and a lot of recruiting stuff, but I did see some posts that Jalen Harrelson is going to be at the game, the Wisconsin game.
Yeah.
And
he
is ridiculous. So he's a Fisher's kid. He's up at a prep school and up north here in Indiana at La Lumiere now. But he is legit 6'7", 6'8", point guard, playmaker, obviously versatile enough that where he could play 1, 2, or 3. He's not a small kid. He's not a slight kid by any means. He's built. He's as skilled as you're going to see.
Don't let him get added to the current.
No.
We'll be up there.
Yeah.
With the Duke and some of the other business as far as, it's already a massive recruiting class. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I've
seen him play a bunch.
Just those Indy Heat kids, there's kind of a pipeline of those Indy Heat kids that we've established at Purdue. Going back to Jaden Ivey, a lot of these kids know each other and know the program, and I'm very surprised they're comfortable with the staff.
I'm pretty surprised at the change of heart. Now I know he's like, I don't really know. I really actually don't even know why he's visiting. I know, but I know he's visiting, but I don't know what roster spot. Obviously you find one somehow. I don't know how you go about that.
Well, he's a 25, so
okay, so he's that following.
Yeah, he's not a 24. That would be illegal.
I was going to say, don't let him play with those chucks.
But if he reclassifies, don't do that. No, he's only a 25. But I would say I don't know. I don't have the 25 rankings up. I just know.
He's big time.
Well, right. Actually, he's
I know he's a 5-star.
He is definitely a 5-star. He is he's ranked number 8 in the 2025 Rivals 150. So number 8 player in the country, whatever. Yeah. But he's the real deal. He's just he's only going to get better. Obviously, that goes without saying. But he's there's not much he can't do. I mean, he's in the gym. He's a gym rat for sure. And
if you were to be on the team, you would legit have 4 or 5 like mega pros at Purdue next year. I mean, it would be ridiculous. I mean, 2-1.
Yeah,
it would be ridiculous.
I think someone has probably. I mean, he was starting in the HCC, the conference here with all your big schools, Carmel, Zionsville, Noblesville, Fishers, HSC, like the elite schools all in one conference, where Braden, played, anyone from Carmel, they play, that you've ever had. So it's, he started as a freshman, for a Fishers team, before he transferred to La Lumiere, a prep academy. But he looked every bit the part. He did not look like a freshman, both in body and just IQ and just being aggressive, does not hesitate at all, just plays instinctively. And he's also a kid. It's not, I look at two things, like as far as being able to play right away. He's a kid that played at the highest, EYBL. He plays on a phenomenal AAU team. He gets those games in and he's not ducking school competition. So, La Lumiere is playing a national schedule where they're traveling. He certainly didn't have to do that, in my opinion. It's just, I think he wanted to concentrate on basketball and not be distracted with, other stuff. But he certainly showed right away he was going to be a force in this conference. And if you can play in this conference, you can play in Brownsburg's also in this conference where Cannon Catchings went. And it's a monster conference. So I have no doubt that wherever he goes, he's going to be an immediate contributor, if not a starter. And
well, the wild thing is, at the end of the day, if Matt Painter has recruited you to come to Purdue, even if you're not that, you actually are probably not necessarily an underrated version of him, but you're an underrated version of whoever everybody else thinks you are. Like, honestly, Matt Painter basically probably recruits for a lot of people because he gets on people that you think, like, oh, well, what's he recruiting them for? Like, hey, we've missed something. How late are we to this party? And, I think with Matt Painter, like, much the way I go about my job or whatever, like, he uses, like, honesty. He just goes, like, it's like, hey, I'm gonna shoot you straight. I'm not gonna bullshit you. I'm not gonna promise you this. I'm not gonna, I'll promise you if you work hard, there's a place for you here. Where, whether that starts, well, that's really up to you. And he said it many times before, like, we don't really run plays for like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th player on our team. We do it for, like, if you're good enough in the starting lineup, whatever, to run plays for you, you get plays run for you. Because you'd have people be like, well, when they had like Jaden Ivey or Carson Edwards, and, like, well, it might be the 4th person was like, well, why are you running that play for me? It's like, have you watched Carson Edwards? I mean, when you can do that, some of the things he does is you get plays ran for you. You know what I'm saying? And so you just, but I think honestly, in the last, despite some of the negative NCAA tournament press, I think you're starting to see over the last 10, but certainly 5 to 10 years, Purdue's, become a much more like offensive juggernaut relative to the Big Ten. Big Ten actually this coming year's got some really good offensive teams. Now Purdue actually has a very good defense to go on with that, really. But if you look at who he's been recruiting or who's coming to Purdue, it's almost like that. Obviously, we get these giants that want to, come play in because we go through the post. But if you notice that, Matt Painter will adjust to what, like who the roster he has, and that's kind of and he's going to continue to do that. So it might be a situation in the upcoming years where it's 5 out, maybe no true center. We have true centers, but like, well, the guys we have now that are big like that, they can shoot threes that are like in the pipeline, are redshirting or playing, Bert, like those guys. So you're going to have a situation where it's like, I can go post you out, but now I can go and take you out and shoot, and he's starting to get like players at every position, and almost like position was basketball to a degree, but like where you're starting to get like, if you start getting the 3s and 4s that he's looking to do, and then they're more like can play like, you know, you get like if your 5 is really a 3, I mean, or a 4, like you're doing it with, you know what?
I mean, yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I love that. Like if like a
Narrative
kid
is
like Harrelson, like if you get a kid like that, if you can sell that kid on positionless basketball, and you with his frame, which is a legit 6'7", 6'8", you know, 220 right now as a junior, going to be a senior next year. By the time he gets to campus, he probably grows another inch or two and puts on another 10 to 15 pounds before he even plays a college game. That's a power forward size with point guard skill. Like if you can roll him out, running the 3 or the 4 on the wing, and force a matchup where he's drawing the opposing team's 4 on the perimeter, or switches. I mean, drawing a point guard. I mean, because he can do that, it's over. I mean, it's just those are the kind of things. Like if you get that player with a coach that can scheme those things, and is not a coach that is not so set in his ways, and like to your point, they do adjust to their roster.
Yeah,
It's generational teams and rosters and just outcomes. It's been a while. I mean, Purdue's never really had that consistently. They've always had players that fit and very solid teams, but now that everything's kind of an even playing field, and there's a culture in place, and you know, consistent exposure nationally.
I mean,
it's going to be fun to watch.
Right? Literally being ranked. So everybody wants to crap on Purdue for the narrative in the NCAA tournament. Being ranked number 1 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
People pay attention to that. I mean, whether you,
yeah.
So it's like when you go on a visit, it's like, okay, so obviously you can say, well, Purdue hasn't had, and honestly, people keep on using that against Purdue because it's all you got left at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a situation now where everybody knows this has really been a sleeping giant for a long time with just the right, you know, collaborative of players, and you have the right coach, you've got the right culture, you know, you've got the right fan support, you've got the right administration, you know, so you have all these things right now, and all of a sudden you're getting to where Purdue's getting pros, NBA level players through and through, and now if you start stockpiling those kind of things with a Purdue program, you know, they start. I mean, you're going to be in a situation where it's like, I mean, I'm not so sure you don't start seeing, you know, we have 3 losses this year at this point. I'm not sure you don't start seeing Purdue being a top 3 seed lock every year, or I mean, like where it's like, you know, we've been number 1 seed a good handful of times, but like, and we've been a top 4 seed the last several years, you know, so that's cultural, right? You start doing that thing where you start putting yourself in position to be in position to do these things. You know, there's a reason why these number 1 seeds, you know, make the Final Four like 40% of the time or whatever. I mean, because you're already out of the gate. It's like you're past your first to get to the Sweet 16. You're already playing 2 teams you probably should beat. So now it's like even when the tournament begins, well, there's only 16 teams left,
Mm-hmm.
and so you know, like we're very much a sleeping giant. The fan support's been there since the beginning of time, and it's just one of those things where, you know, the booster situation that situation is a lot better than people think. Purdue's is pretty good. There's, you know, obviously there's some people that just have like a treasure trove, you know, an endless stream of NIL, but you know, you can get all the best players, and if they don't gel or you don't have some kind of like cultural fit, you know, and that's the thing with Purdue. It's like the next year's class is going to be like 6 people, which is pretty big, but like what you've done is like, okay, so the people that come back, you know, as long as you got 4, 5, 6 people coming back and they carry on that culture. I mean, but you're looking at it now. It's like you look over the past few years, like what Purdue's been in basketball. has become an exciting brand of basketball to watch, really overall to watch. Namely, you go to Carson Edwards'
Mm-hmm.
team. That team was fun as hell to watch. Jaden Ivey's team, fun as hell to watch. Well, now it's like, what happens? Like every year, Matt Painter figures out something a little bit better he can get better at. Like where have I been too stubborn and didn't move off a spot? It's like, all right, well, we need it, really athletic four. Can we get one? Can they, or whatever? We need to get, we just, point guard, like, so it's, literally this team would have Jaden Ivey on it. Like if there wasn't the NBA, like, and I know that would probably mess up the chemistry, but if you just threw Ivey on this team or even last year's team as at the guard, like, so when he was recruited, he would be a part of this class, the senior day coming up. Like you think about that, that would be, Ivy. That class would be unbelievable. Like Edie was not ranked. You're talking about, so I'm just saying, like, he's had people leave early because he's been recruiting so well. He's in the last, 6, 7, 8, 9 years getting early entrance. We never had any of that stuff before. Like never. Glenn Robinson, the only person like ever leave early, basically, and that's going back, 30-some years. And he's obviously Glenn Robinson. He was number 1 overall draft pick. Unanimous Mr. Basketball, just like he will be. But it's one of those things where with the people upcoming, this is people that are like, I'm so glad Edie be gone. It's like, well, maybe. Obviously there's nobody like him to really played college basketball, certainly in decades, but no one even like what he does. There's no one that's ever really done that, hit their free throws, hit the glass the same way. Just, you have to put so everything you do when you scout every other team in the country, you drop all that crap and do it totally different with Purdue, as long as we've got Zach Edey. Now, the crazy thing is like when he's gone, we won't do that. But guess what? We have a brilliant coach. It's going to be a different set of problems for you. Like we're going to, so it's, he's brilliant at like exploiting your weakness. And, no reason why people don't do a lot of things Purdue does is because we're the only one, we're 1 of 1 with Zach Edey right now. But I guarantee you, it'll just be a different way to make you look bad. It might even be a worse way because the athleticism is going to be to the point where if you throw in what he's doing with the athleticism and how we'll be able to defend and, get to the hoop and then shoot the ball, the spacing might be even more ridiculous. And now Purdue will have even more dynamic players in the court to where it's like, what do you do? And
yeah.
There's only going to be so many teams that even have players that can match up with Purdue in the future. So it's, to your point there, it's I think it's very, very bright what we've got coming to the pipeline.
For sure. Are there any, as far as what you hear, I know that you're a little more plugged into the inside stuff, message boards and such online. Are you hearing anything about anybody on the current roster not coming back or hitting the portal?
I've not heard any of that yet. I think obviously you're in the middle of a really, really good season. I could see some of that possibly being reevaluated at the end. I don't really know who would those be. I do know
one that
I was going to say I am basically 100% sure that Gillis could come back, but is not coming back. I think he's just going with his life. I don't think he's going to go to another program. But I think he's obviously welcome to come back, and Purdue would be that much better for it in one spot. But then you're definitely going to get someone to leave if that were the case. So I think those players understand the dynamic of having 6 people come in, and it's like so Morton won't be coming back, Edey won't be coming back, and Gillis won't be coming back, and then obviously there's 3 or 4 walk-ons that are seniors. So all those people will be taking their senior day and not returning. And, it's not like – and Morton and Gillis could come back. They all could come back, but they're not going to. So I know they're not coming back for sure. So even if people would think Gillis is well, he could – well, he's not coming back from everything I've heard. So, so they're not. As far as that goes, your maybe your Kaufman Wrens or your firsts, or I guess, I mean, or like I don't know, like I've not heard anything like that yet. When I do, I would, like, because when there's smoke, there's fire. There's not really been anything like that. I think that I've heard that the team, and you probably can attest to some of this, to some of your knowledge, but I've heard that the team chemistry is maybe as good as it's ever been at Purdue ever. I mean, top,
Yeah, no, I definitely have heard that, and that's that they really enjoy being with each other and they do everything together. It's not just cliche, like they're tight. With that being said, and I have no information, that's why I asked this question, but just kind of thinking forward, like a nightmare scenario that popped in my head the other day, just because he had the spike game, unbelievable talent. And I think people took notice, but like I see, I don't know, like Cam Heide to me there would be every coach in the nation would love. Yeah. I just one that
dad went local high school, and I think he's really excited about the role he's going to have. I mean, if anything, and I don't even want to speculate because I mean, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just that's one where if I think that
they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think Colvin is going anywhere just because of his name. But
Heidi's not either.
Yeah, it's just a spot where this year has just been. And honestly, I don't think Kaufman Wren is either, just because he is starting. He's getting started. He's getting plenty of minutes. I would be more concerned about first from that standpoint. But I think that with Edie out next year, I think there's an opportunity for them to exploit their athleticism with a little bit smaller and kind of be more, but those two be more interchangeable around, this couple 7-footers that will be on the team again.
Yeah.
Just the different looks.
I think that with like first and obviously Wren, their minutes, they're going to be the first crack to get minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll also have the system on their belt for 3-4 years. So I think as good as the freshmen are coming in, I mean, I don't know how they figure out. Obviously, when you go through the summer workouts, and then obviously the fall practice and whatever,
mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff sort of. Obviously, I'm sure if the season's over, every coach sits down with their players like, "Hey, like you have real talk. I mean, like what you think is going to go on." I mean, I think last year everybody knew Brandon Newman was going to go this year. I've not seen any of that as far as that goes. Like I could have told you that like halfway through the season. And some people were like, the Colvin thing or whatever else, or Kaufman, like there's some of that popped up, but it's like they have good parents, all of those people so it's like, you look at it and it's like what, like first is, high school coach, style, so when these people have been groomed by excellent human beings, I think it means something to the people that Matt Painter recruits, to be honest with you, like in general. So it's like, these are character type people where they're willing to sacrifice that. And obviously if something comes up where they see something, but Matt Painter's going to make you earn it. But I think that like first role increases again. A lot of people will be like, well, like this is like Gillis's best season. Well, I think he's been a great player the whole time he's been at Purdue.
Yeah.
But if you look at what he's doing now, the numbers wise and whatever, and I mean, he's a vital part of this.
He's going
to be a guy like first, different kind of player, but like he's going to be like that next year, where he's that, even if he is his first man off the bench or starts some, doesn't, whatever. Like he has it. Like people have. I mean, the average person has no idea how good he is. I mean, you told me when I told you when he was going to go to Purdue, and you were like, you almost couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's going to go to Purdue from the stuff I've heard. Because you watch him, you're like, dude, this guy is like NBA dude, like really.
Yeah. He has obviously his 16 frame and quick first step, and has skill. He could. That's one thing that I'm disappointed that I think much like Wren, both of them, they have range to the college 3-point line.
Yeah,
very much so. In high school, they stretched the floor, and it just hasn't been needed with this team. But
I think on next year's team, they might be doing that more.
Yeah, I hope that they have not got so stuck in their blinders on in their role just to become what this team needs as far as bangers, that they're not putting in the extra work and maintaining that. Like that's one thing, that's one thing that's imperative to be a versatile, complete player. When you have the God-given size and ability, if it's not needed this game, this week, this month, this season, you still have to maintain those tools, because at some point it will be valuable. And I just hope that's been the case with both of them. Sometimes you can get just so focused on how do I get minutes now, which you need to do. Yeah. It's just you stop putting the other work in, and that's
And the crazy thing is now, when they go in, it's like I feel like they're needed to get rebounds.
Yeah,
and they do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like even if you like, so it's sort of sad at times because like first I like his just the reps he gets in games is so limited that I feel like if when he gets in there, like he doesn't really look that comfortable with his shot or whatever it is by any means. And I don't think that's a confidence issue. It's just like a rep issue.
Yeah.
But it's like almost like he'll get something where it's like a 4 foot, like got a guy backed in and he'll just like miss that now.
Oh yeah. And I touched on that a few episodes ago. Like right. I see it more with First, like even more fundamentally like lacking confidence.
Yeah, he'll miss like some layups.
He'll miss layups, but even on the defensive end or just rebounding, like he'll turn his body. He'll literally turn his body away from the rim when the ball's on the rim to make sure he's boxing out. You can't do that in the Big Ten, Division I, anywhere really. Like at a point, like you have to feel the person. You need to have already made that contact. You need to pursue the ball outside of your rebounding radius. I mean, when you're overthinking something as fundamental as rebounding at that position, like you're just overthinking everything. You don't want to make a mistake because if you do, you're going right back to the bench. It's another 3-minute night.
And I think the quick leash thing has impacted him in that manner, because I feel like if you're ever to almost get that little, and he very well might do that inside a tournament if there people get drunk, people get in foul trouble, but there's going to be a spot where he might get a big time rebound, some putbacks, get some things where it's like, I don't want to say junk baskets, but those are huge. Like when you're honestly the guy that coaches up the bigs in center too, Brandon Brantley would really battle for some rebounds and get some junk. I don't want to say junk putbacks. I'm talking about where it's just he just put in the effort to get it because he's playing with Glenn Robinson.
Yeah.
He's playing with some dudes. So he's like the 5th, 6th option. He was a good center. He's a damn good player on that team. But if you look at what his talent was, what his production was, he knew where he could impact the game, and he did that, and obviously and First is still a junior, right? So right, he's a junior this year, and he's a junior. He's not a
he didn't redshirt, did he?
He may have, but I think he's a redshirt junior.
Yeah, I think so.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. So, it wouldn't surprise me if he becomes a very good role player that just gets grimy and I think when his minutes go up, his confidence goes up and his rep, what I'm saying? Because when a couple of years ago he was starting for Purdue, right? And so it's he looked good in those games, for what that was. But now it's just if Purdue just keeps on stockpiling this talent, it's sort of you don't want to get lost in the shuffle. But at one point I don't want to say you are who you are, but maybe some of his skill set hasn't translated as well as he had hoped or Matt Painter had hoped. And I don't even necessarily think that that's the case. I just think that, unfortunately, when Edie was recruited, Matt Painter knew he'd be good. And he knew he'd be very good. I don't think he ever thought he'd be quite this good, and I don't think he thought he'd be that good that soon. Like, he was supposed to be redshirted when he was a freshman.
Yeah, he did not redshirt.
No. And so the thing about it is like that, even that right there has stunted the growth of certain players, because at the end of the day, it's like, man, this guy, if he can catch the ball and do what he's doing, how do you guard him? And that's so,
I mean, he obviously has the skills to any given game, you break out and
actually
do a difference.
Damn good 3-point shooter. If you have seen, I don't think his numbers suggest that, but I've seen him.
For sure. Both he and Kaufman-Rin, I think that the more natural stroke, I think Kaufman-Rin has. But first, you have to guard him out there if he's going to take that shot. I just don't foresee. I don't see him doing that right now. But I think that the one thing that he does have, I think any confidence loss, it's kind of with the coaches. The coaches are like, oh, I don't want to make this mistake. It's going to show up on film, and you start overthinking things. But the thing I do know about players, and especially a group this close, is if your teammates know what you can do, like they've seen you do it in practice or, in high school in many cases or AAU, they know you're like that. Like they will encourage you and trust you in spots. If he had to play extended minutes for any reason. That's the thing. So I think at any time with him, you could see a breakout game if he needed to play extended minutes. It's just kind of one of those things. It's kind of the price you pay for having an incredible, successful season. There's going to be people on the team that have to take a back seat or sacrifice their numbers or minutes for the greater good. It's just, and that's why I asked that question, because I think that there is a world where next year, with everyone leaving, if the roster with what the roster could be with the parts here and knowing what they can do and how versatile they are, I think that there's a world where that team is a more dangerous team. I don't know. I can't sit here and say that they'd have a better record, but it would not be a team I would want to play in the tournament this time next year.
Well, I think with that being said, maybe you'd have. Hard to say about the record thing. We don't know the big.
Yeah, it would be very hard to,
it's hard
have less than 3 wins,
games,
less losses.
Yeah, exactly. It's very hard.
It's very difficult.
It's insane, honestly. And you one's in overtime and one's barely at Ohio State with a fired coach. And obviously they won an overtime game, but it's like if you just have one better play in 2 different games, you're talking about like an all-timer here, regular season. If you take into Purdue's schedule and the fact they have 3 losses, it's like 5 times more impressive than Gonzaga's undefeated season getting to Baylor in the national championship. If you can take, there's some very good teams. You can take Tennessee's had a very tough schedule, and it's borne out to be, hey, that's why they're going to be 1 seed. Like we've been saying for weeks. But UConn and Houston, and they obviously they playing decent, obviously good conferences. Houston, plays in one that you're, I think, really through and through. You're going to get people that can hang with you consistently, minus a couple of the bottom ones. Or they can just hang with you because they get very good road environments, and it's just hard to win. It's a tough league that way. Passionate fans and the Big 12, but it's like if any of those 2 teams play Purdue's schedule, and there's no, I really don't think people understand how incredible it was to go undefeated versus Marquette full strength Tennessee was almost full strength. Vescovy, I think he was just getting back from the injury, but Connect was coming on, and they have other really good players, and obviously that's on a 1 day turnaround without like an advanced scout, not a regular rest, so you can say that for Tennessee as well too. But Purdue got through playing Gonzaga, so you're playing Gonzaga, Tennessee, Marquette, Alabama, and Arizona. I know I'm forgetting, somebody else. Maybe that's the non-conference ones. Obviously Tennessee. So if you go through that, then you throw in, 2 wins against Illinois, 1 already against Wisconsin. Wisconsin was number 6 at the time when that went down. They've fallen off. They actually won last night. They might be up on the comeback a little bit. I don't think they're going to win senior night at Purdue. But if you look at the ranked wins, like if you don't throw Alabama, they're 7-0 in ranked wins AP top 25, 7-0. But it's not. But look at the teams who it was. It's 2 teams fighting for a 1 seed. It's the next best team fighting for a 2 seed. So it's like you almost have 4, 5, 6 in the country. I mean, Marquette's got the injury, and so they're going to drop a little bit because of that. But it's 4, 5, 6. As far as the top teams, all neutral or on the road. And then you're throwing in, Gonzaga, who's up there, and certainly Gonzaga any given night can beat a lot of these teams, Alabama defensively not anywhere near good enough to cut the whole nets down, but offensively. And the thing about it is these teams also that Purdue's done this against are incredible offensive teams. Arizona, Tennessee's now really coming with offensive end. Alabama, so Illinois twice. I mean, these are the teams, Marquette, these teams, go look at their points per game. They're not playing little sisters of the poor, as I always mentioned, they're not, it's not like they fattened up on playing Turd Ferguson's, they played some, so it's they went undefeated against that. And still, like I said, so, they win 1 game in overtime, they lose 1 game in overtime, on the road to Northwestern, but that was not the Northwestern team you see now. That extra guard, Barry's a hell of a player. I mean, so it's it's when you play. If we played right now at Northwestern, we win. It's just what it is. But so either way, 3 losses with that. Yeah, so you're right. Depending on what their non-conference tournament looks like, it's gonna be hard to go undefeated for the 4 years in a row non-conference, especially playing the gauntlet Purdue's played over the last 3 years. But I think what you're going to get is if these pieces come together and jump, you're going to have the same point guard. So that's a big deal. He's going to set you up to be successful.
Yeah, I think that I was thinking about this too. You'll have the lead guard. I think that one thing that I worry about is kind of a couple things. I worry about a log jam kind of at your 3/wing position. I don't know that Lawyer is going to be in that mix next year. I think he'll probably slide in the starting lineup to the 2 spot. That way you have Heidi, you have your Colvin, you have,
maybe
obviously
I don't know.
Cannon Ketchens coming in, playing 3 and maybe some 4 with small ball. So I think that you have a bit of a logjam as far as minutes again there. Even taking out Lawyer out of that spot because he's kind of playing out of position this year as a 3 with Lance Jones on this team. So I worry about that a bit, but that also being said, I worry about enough ball handling on outside of Braden because of that. And so what that brought me to just kind of looking at the roster as it is now, not really considering what pieces are coming in because that is a bunch of unknown and you can't really always bank on that. I am kind of banking on Catchings just because he's an elite recruit that we haven't had for a long time.
He's on the rock.
Yeah, he can, but I don't know that you have him as a in your backcourt as a primary ball handler. I don't know that
Colvin has
so that's kind of I think that I think that's where I was going. I think that Colvin, there's a scenario where I see Colvin kind of getting out of that logjam at the wing, 3 position. And if he can assume Lance Jones's role, but maybe do it off the bench
I think you just
next year.
I think you just have a lot of 3-guard lineups is what it's going to be.
If he can do that, I think it changes everything. It makes me. I do worry about. I mean, God forbid something happened to Lance or Braden this year.
Yeah,
I think it's an issue as far as a ball handler. Not even considering what they really bring to the table, which is incredible off the charts, but just fundamentally having a sound ball handler to initiate your offense and break the press.
If he didn't bring in Lance Jones, Colvin would have a lot of these minutes.
Yeah,
now, I think because he would have been certainly a deficit in the defensive end, but he would have also been getting better and better and better by now as well too. I
just hope that Colvin ties himself to Braden Smith in the offseason and just he gets in the gym and he gets that change of pace, the ball handling, just being able to initiate, just playing with pace in the half court, full court, just all those things that you need from a ball handler. I think that is a game changer. It takes a lot of pressure and allows you to play lawyer in some spots where Braden maybe is off the floor.
Yeah.
God help everyone if you have an athletic someone running point that athletic in spot minutes like Colvin, and you can keep lawyer in it at the 2. It just presents
nightmares. A different staggering of minutes is probably what it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know who else who would be on the roster to assume ball handling duties.
If you've watched some highlights and whatever, this Cox dude guard is very good. He's like I can't explain it. Like
I've watched it.
He's not crazy like dynamic that way, but he just he's very composed, and he's got some bursts. He's got some, but it's a different kind of a guard. But it's almost like that. When Villanova was running the guards out there, when they had like 3 guards, it's almost like or like a Virginia when it's like that third guard. He might not be your number 1 option, but he's that guy. It's like there's another person to handle the ball, another person that can go shoot, another person that can draw. Just there's something to be said about someone that's pretty damn good that doesn't beat himself, doesn't hurt the team, right? I mean, there is something to be, and so, maybe even gets redshirted. But if you're in that needed guards, you just might not be redshirting guards like that. And then, Harris, big dog son, he can play.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just,
so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I guarantee one of the big dudes will get redshirted, and then it becomes like, who else may? I mean, I don't know. Maybe someone maybe someone does go. I don't know. I don't think Purdue will be doing any transfer portaling. I mean,
it would have to be
this guy would be perfect at Purdue. Like I see on the message boards, I'm thinking
well, and I'm not going to name names, but I know I mentioned something where a rival of Purdue's, they were through different channels trying to test the waters to see if that would even be a possibility. And I think this time last year, Purdue would have been falling all over themselves. Absolutely.
For sure.
Now I can't help you.
Really, I don't think it's even realistic.
Yeah. It's just I can't help you.
That person, how they got to do it over, they would be on Purdue. They would, but it's just, and I think it's hard, and I don't know, you might know more of that backstory. Maybe that was more of a person that grew up in that family. And it's they're just married to the idea of but if you look at Braden, Braden's family, liked, they liked IU. He watched IU, watched an interview. He watched it. He liked dad watched IU basketball.
Yeah, that's unfortunately pretty much
a lot
of people in this area.
Sure.
They lean more towards IU. The cutoff is probably somewhere on 65 on the way to Indy, north.
Yeah. But I think it's more true than the last 10, 15 years than it was 10 years
Yeah.
ago, let's say?
I can just go off of license plates,
I know.
license plates, and terrible fucking drivers.
I get it. Yeah.
Just the world, like these, like we're all of you in the little 500. You guys are fucking terrible. You are fucking terrible. All of you drivers are just guaranteed IU plate. Like I don't know what they do. Like it's so frustrating.
I never know what they're doing.
I never know what they're doing. Just fucking Ricky Bobby and them in their fucking minivan with their stick figure fucking family. I just want to mow them over. Sorry.
No,
I might with that.
That felt good.
I meant it though. I really did.
College fan base cleansing there. That was nice.
The only thing my point is it's very heavy. It's a metropolis I live in, you know.
Yeah.
Indianapolis is a big place, and it seems overwhelming IU country, but I think that, you know, there are some Purdue grads, but like a lot of Purdue people don't stay in the Midwest, you know.
Yeah.
They'll migrate west, you know, Silicon Valley, those kind of places.
Purdue people actually went there.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the chuckleheads that are driving around your place is like,
yeah,
no.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
They didn't even go to
their cousins
or a frat party there. They literally just watched, you know, on WTTV, you know, Channel 4 with, you know, the rabbit ears. Like, we love ourselves some IU basketball. I mean, crap like that, you know. So
Channel 4 is their favorite channel, just because.
Yeah, it's still their favorite channel. I don't think it's even exists anymore. It might. I don't know. I don't live there anymore. But like, you know, that used to be it. That was the only game in town. You know, that's what you watched. But it's just, and I mean, but I think I've never seen so many, like, even like on message board stuff. Like, obviously, you're gonna get the haterade. Period. I've heard several IU fans. It's like, when they're honest, like we get the ones that are like just honest in themselves. They're like, I'd really rather watch Purdue basketball because they, you know, they just do things the right way. I mean, it's almost like spine tingling when you hear that from an IU fan, but it's sort of like, yeah, when you've got people convinced, it's like, man, you know, because they used to throw a lot of shade at Matt Painter and some still will, but at the end of the day, it's like, if we asked you anonymously who you want to be your coach, if, you know, all things being equal, your current coach, one of your last 5 coaches, or Matt Painter. And if you didn't get some imbecile that was like, well, you can't win in March type deal, there's, you know, I mean, I don't think there would be very many that would be like, yeah, go ahead and take Woodson. I mean, there wouldn't be. I would be surprised if it's more than 10%, probably less.
Yeah, I mean, it's
for whatever it's worth, and that's going on now where it's like Purdue's consistently good, and they consistently pain in the ass for IU basketball, IU sport, or whatever. So it's sort of like, you know, they'll point to the banners, but like they're already like, if, you know, they're already like, you know, Purdue's, you know, wins one of these things, man, like they're gonna have nothing to hold over Purdue's head.
I think it's all fascinating, the state of college basketball with the recruits and the kids, their mindset. Yeah. And if I'm being completely, I mean, Painter obviously is phenomenal, and he's always been that kind of coach and just a great fit. But if you're being 100% honest about the situation, it kind of is it's perfect timing for Purdue to have built the program and be off and running at this time of NIL, transfer portal freedoms, all that, to where it's much more of a destination. And I think that, I don't want to say they got lucky because they did things the right way for a long time, but they weren't so obtuse in their approach. Whereas I think that IU has been so disjointed, and at the same time they just were in a bad valley and kind of can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
So that's when you start seeing 5-star recruits like McNeely be like, what am I really doing? Like, who else is coming? I have no problem coming there. And, I like the banners and the energy in this building, but like, if I'm going to be doing, I'm not really like, I don't I'm not that guy. You know, I'm not.
If you sit down, and he does a personality test and has for a while now. If you sit down like and have a conversation or heard Matt Painter talk, like especially off the record, I've done it, heard it many times, scores of times. And if you, this is even like before, even it's going back 10, 20 years now. You know, I've heard this, and like if you listen to him as a recruit and his like honesty, his take on like, and he's very, very funny guy, actually, like extremely funny. And he's very engaging. He's very respectful. And so it's like, he really gets it. And I think he's really molded himself as time's gone on to be like less of the old guard, you know, like his predecessor, you know. Katie's been awesome. But Katie would have really never been able to make it in this, I don't think, in this environment, you know.
Yeah, you can't really for sure say, but no, probably not. Like,
I mean, I'm not saying, and he's great.
Yeah, the job, it was a different job then. It's just different requirements. Like you had to be, you had to be so much more, honestly, back then. You had to, I mean, you had to make sure it was all on the up and up. And if it wasn't, you needed to figure out how to fucking sleep.
Oh, yeah, I know. And he didn't cheat, you know. So like that's, you know, that's probably part of the reason why he didn't have his term of success.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah. I mean, really.
I mean,
that's, you know,
I've heard things.
Yeah,
I've seen some things, but
there was a little spot there.
Yeah, there was
many moons ago. That, you know, one assistant kind of did like some stuff. And
I know some of those guys, so I'm not going to name names, but if you look it up, exactly. There was, and knowing what I know and what I've heard from certain people,
and that, you know, and I'm, you know, who knows, like if to what level the buck gets passed, you know, like. You know, is the Mafia Don calling the hit, or is this just one of the capos making a choice? I mean, you know, but I've heard things, you know, as far as like that goes. That
most of it was so minor compared to what, and it was just so minor, just like it was really in many cases just
that one would be a joke. That would be.
Oh yeah, it was like you broke, like you
couldn't get like a car ride from like an assistant coach to like the airport to go visit your family. Like, I mean, it's not even a joke. Like that's like a
Devin.
That's like a violation, like a great.
Devin. Let me tell you a story.
Yeah, tell us a story.
Yeah, no, it's completely
changed. I know
it's completely changed. This is a personal story. So in high school. So high school, I went on a recruiting visit to Ball State, and we got there in the morning. We had breakfast. They had breakfast there for us. I bullshit you not. Like they had bagels, right? Mm-hmm. There was butter, jelly, and I think there was peanut butter.
Not cream cheese.
Listen to me.
Okay.
This, because I've heard other people say this. I said, hey, Josh, breakfast, here you go, juice. This, and I'm like, okay. I said, do you have cream cheese? I just wanted cream cheese for my bagel.
Sure.
Straight up, like I thought it was a joke. The defensive coordinator looked at me in the face and said, that's a recruiting violation. Like, cream cheese is forbidden by the NCAA.
Come on.
No.
I didn't know the story. I knew you might have learned for years.
No, I was confused. I thought it was a joke.
I didn't know the story from you. This is awesome.
No. So I could not have, it was literally, if they offered me cream cheese, they gave me cream cheese for my bagel. Amongst other things. You'd have to look at the old bylaws.
BYOCC.
Yeah.
That's why
I don't even know if they'd want me to do that, because then if someone saw me driving around with a cream cheese bagel, they'd be like, there's a recruiting violation here from this kid from Westside.
That's nuts.
But no, it was literally written amongst other things. Like, no, I straight up looked in the face. I thought it was a joke. Like, I was like, no, that's okay. Like I don't need cream cheese. You don't have cream cheese. He's like, no, we can't give you cream cheese. It's a NCAA violation. It's one of the many things we can't do.
What was the explanation for that?
It's written in the bylaws. It's just
Ball State's bylaws or NCAA?
No, NCAA. Here, let me.
That's bizarre. I mean, it's awesome, but like, I did not even know this story. That's amazing. Wow.
Let's see.
Well, that seems minor. Do you feel like other programs might have given recruits cream cheese?
Hold on.
Or do you think it was the Cardinals? Do you feel like the Kansas Jayhawk basketball?
This is a real. This here.
Were offered cream cheese on their visits.
This is incredible.
Okay,
this
so
is incredible. Hold on. I'm gonna share this for you. Keep talking.
Do you think that Kansas was offered cream cheese or cheddar? I feel like they were offered cheddar.
Let's see.
Not on the bagel. Eat some cheddar. A little bit. That's fun. How the NCAA banned cream cheese. Well, this is back in 2014. So this is our first graphic, and it is my mind's blown. The incident. That's awesome. I thought we'd be putting up like a Big Ten tournament thing here at some point, or this is a cream cheese banning.
So this is 2014. So there was a food stipend. Hold on here. I wanted to see.
So were you allowed to have cream cheese if you're an active player at Ball State?
That wasn't clear. I never got to that point.
I was sure like how unfair that was. Did they put roids in the cream cheese? Was there
No, Ball State was terrible at that point. They probably should have.
Philadelphia HGH cream cheese. Banned. That's awesome. I did not even know that story, and I know 97% of your stories from your minor adulthood till now.
Yeah. It's just so my whole point of that is
a little stricter.
My whole point of that is it's.
Do you think Jalen Harrison will be offered cream cheese on his bagel if he gets here in time for breakfast? It'll be an early game.
Yeah, it's
fine now. It's fine. It's back in the game.
It's such a different world now.
You've got some whoppers and other stuff that I won't even get into, but I know you could divulge. You probably won't. Maybe
my collegiate experience was something else.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, no, it's a different world. I think in many regards, it's a lot of like I was saying, a lot of that extra stuff. Like, you think Gene Katie liked making sure there was no cream cheese put out? If he's going, by the letter of the law, making sure that nobody put cream cheese out, and then worrying like, fuck this. Mike Robinson is going to bring is committed, and if we could just have cream cheese, Jermaine O'Neal may come too. Like,
you never know.
It's a different job. Is my whole point to all this.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And it just it's something else.
Your curveballs never cease to amaze me. From your ramen, your taunting of the ramen. I shall taunt you a second time, and then cream cheese band visits. That's
I just wanted. I mean,
you heard it here first.
My whole thing
has ever talked about not being able to get cream cheese on a bagel.
Oh, I'm sure it has. I've heard it from a lot of people. Like, it's kind of a I don't want to say inside joke, but a lot of people talk about it. But my whole thing is like, if cream cheese is one of the main things banned that you can't offer athletes, why the fuck put out a bagel? I wouldn't put it on toast. Like if you put out toast, I wouldn't be like, where's the cream cheese?
Yeah.
Eliminate the problem by just not giving me, like, not offering bagels. It's really not that hard. But I digress.
That is senseless. That really is senseless. That's awesome. Great story.
Nah, it's just like I said, it's a different world for these coaches, and it's probably a good thing. And like, I don't know. I think the old guys, your Sabins, your Izzos, your Bayhams, all those old guard, like, I don't think that they were, by the book by any means. But it's just they kind of had to get out because they were institutionalized, and they probably would not do well sitting in a room offering an NIL package to a kid. Like, it feels dirty. It's not natural.
Well, and I think largely because this whole situation has really empowered players that at the end of the day, before the coaches were still in charge, it's just that, like, now, and it's good that they've empowered players. They should have done it structurally a long, long time ago. And it should be governed in a different way as well. But I think one of the problems is now the structural situation of NIL, because it wasn't governed and all that stuff, is like the players are so empowered that it's become like entitled and empowered, to where it's a situation where a coach, before, you're still really needed their, I don't want to say their grace, but you really needed their, they still were kind of like, they still were in charge, and they're in charge now. But at the end of the day, Arch Manning, like, he doesn't want to be part of the new college football that's coming out in NCAA. And the thing is like, well, people, there's a tweet was like, well, I play my games on the field and not in a video game. Like, you actually haven't played any games on the field yet.
He knows what he's doing.
But what I'm saying, it's one of those things where it's like, and there was a whole, I think it was like $600 is what you get and whatever. But it's like, why wouldn't you want to be a part of it? I just, well,
it's because if he signs off on it, he can't negotiate more, or a different avenue. Like, he's not done. Like, that family he's from, he's going to take advantage of every angle he can, and he's not going to give it. It's probably a marketing thing. I mean, he doesn't give a shit.
Bad advice.
I don't know. I mean, if they really want him, they'll figure something else out. Don't be surprised if it happens.
Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna put Ewers in.
He's not.
People are gonna put Quinn Ewers anyways when they roll out there rather than him anyways. That doesn't make any difference. But whatever. I mean, it's fine. To me, it's like, the problem with that is that culturally it breaks down when the person that's supposed to be leading you to make good life decisions and on the court basketball or on the field football decisions, when those people have lost leverage / influence / just advice, mentoring, I just think it really it changes the hierarchy of what you need, like, really what should happen in collegiate sports. It's just one of those things where some of those people are ready to be pros and have that kind of mentality, and some are not. And if you don't develop some of these life skills that you would get by playing, college football, college basketball, whatever college sport it may be, you're missing the boat. Like, you want that instant gratification. Well, it's like, it takes work. There's no mean, like, LeBron James, all these people, none of these people that are phenomenal at what they do don't put like endless amounts of work. You don't hear about the work, but they, the people that are talented and athletic and what have you, they're putting in work, tons and tons and tons of work because their drive to be great is excellent, and most of those same people they're willing to go to battle for the person that's next to them if they know they're putting in that kind of work too, and so. I just think that the cultural shift, along with the whole NIL, with it not being governed, is really unfortunate because I think players should, they're making all this money for their universities. I don't have any problem with any of that stuff. I really wish it were regulated in a certain way. I really wish it would have been used. I really wish it would have been put out there like it was intended to be put out there for some of these kids couldn't get jobs, right? They weren't allowed to work.
You gotta
sell merchandise. Like if you sell it, something's got your jersey name on it, and you're in college, you should get a piece of that.
Absolutely.
That should have been going on for a long time.
The NCAA, you don't get to my thought process is it's probably going to get a lot crazier before it gets to be more of an even regulated playing field. To be honest, and that's probably kind of what should get
obsolete is what's going to happen because it's already people trying to SEC, Big Ten trying to branch out in football, be like, here you go. We don't really need you.
Yeah.
That might be coming before anything else.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that expanding the playoff will kind of prevent that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
These NIL deals, even if it's $100,000 deal for a certain kid, that's peanuts compared to the big picture of the billions for the playoff. Sure. And speaking of from the just the football, and you really think about the number of teams on that level, it's a very small percentage, overall.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is the NCAA has had these kids over a barrel forever, and and they don't get to cry over a year or two of it. You got some shit coming. You got some reckless behavior from some 18 to 22-year-old kids that are getting, you had your opportunity for decades to make it right. And this is what you get now because you refuse to bend even just a little bit and let kids eat hamburgers when their jerseys are flying off the shelves. This is kind of what you get. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
I don't know what that means as far as, how it fucks the game up, and it very well may, but if it does end up doing that, the adults have to look at themselves in the mirror, not the kids that are just out there trying to get whatever is being offered to them. You're not going to say no. Well, I'm not going to say no. You're telling me I'm 18 and I don't give a fuck if this is legal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not thinking about the greater good. I'm 18 years old.
Yeah, you don't care. But so one of the things is that with the whole NIL and all that is it'll be interesting to see what happens, here in a year or maybe next year or whenever. I don't know if the COVID deal is officially done. Because that's going to change some things as far as some of these basketball teams being really, really old. Because once that's done, it's not like you're going to have these. I think this upcoming season, I can't remember what team it is. They've got a player that's going to was granted his 8th year. And that's the other thing. The NCAA is so inconsistent on the rulings. It's sometimes there's a person that's had a legit crisis, sick family member type thing where they were in charge of them a little, to some degree, a couple nights a week, that was their responsibility. A parent, a grandparent, whatever. And it's they go to move closer to their home. And it's well, you played 4 games as a sophomore, you lost 1 year. What? Well, there's that. And it's and then there's a person that's been 7 years. And it's they missed as many games. You know what I mean? It's they missed 2 seasons worth of games, but then they can't get the extra year. It's just it's just so.
I know it sucks for the people that aren't getting the extra year, but what it tells me is because there's not a hard line and it's inconsistent like that, I guess the lesson is it really is who you know, and how you approach it and who's appealing that for you. So if that's the
I
case,
actually, I